Hey guys, my name is Aldas, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the final part of my Rise of Mercedes series. Now this has been another big hit for the channel and you guys have clearly loved it, and I'm just so over the moon about that. We've had some fantastic discussions and I love your opinions in all of the videos, and hopefully this will be another good episode today as well. Now don't forget, if you want to support the channel and everything like that, then like the video, subscribe. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers. We're about 200 or 300 away, which is phenomenal, and yeah, hopefully we'll get there soon. But yeah, let's jump into it. So in part 2, we ended off by talking about the end of the Mercedes domination between 2014 and 2016 after Nico Rosberg's championship and his shock retirement. Now, it's no secret that coming into the 2017 season, that spare seat at Mercedes was hot property. I mean, this is the team that was owning the sport, dominating it in incredible fashion, and had just won 3 consecutive constructors titles. So that seat was definitely on everyone's sights, and there was plenty of competition for it. There was so many drivers up for the seat, from Pascal Wehrlein to Alonso and Vettel, who were under contract but definitely could have been bought out by Mercedes, to Valtteri Bottas, who of course had the link with Toto Wolff, who was his manager, and also Max Verstappen, who, although again was under contract, was actually having a bit of banter with Mercedes over Twitter and everything like that, and it was just, classic Max Verstappen really. And just, that Mercedes seat was such a hot place in Formula 1, as I was discussing in part 2, and in the end it was Valtteri Bottas that ended up getting the seat, and in my opinion the right move. I mean, he had the links with Mercedes and the links with Toto Wolff, so he was the right person, and of course was signed for 2017 to Mercedes from Williams. Now, coming into 2017, not only was there a new driver at Mercedes, there was also new regulations. Very, very big Aero Regulations with wider front and rear wings, bigger barge boards, the side pod width increased, and also wider tyres as well. Now, all of this created much more downforce for the cars, and it was much more, and I sort of discussed this in part 2, it was a massive shift towards aero, sort of away from the engine side of Formula 1, because as I said, from 2014 to 16, it was just dominated by incredible engineering from the engine side of Mercedes. But now with these new regulations, it was much more aero-based. Now, with brand new regulations in 2017, it was always going to be difficult for Mercedes to maintain a huge level of dominance that they had in that early hybrid era. And we've seen this throughout all of massive regulation changes. It's always difficult for a team to maintain dominance. And it was definitely the signs were there, even in winter testing of 2017, with Ferrari finishing 1-2 at the end of the winter tests. Now, we've seen this before. I mean, winter testing times are always a little bit difficult to judge, but Ferrari definitely seemed there and close to Mercedes right from the get-go. Now, the first third of the season was very, very tight. From Australia to Canada, it was so close between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. And what was amazing to see after all this domination by Mercedes, and even reading some of your guys' comments in the last video, people definitely got bored of just Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg winning all the time. And it was incredible to see a fresh fight, and Ferrari being up there, not just by fluke, but purely on pace. They were so close to Mercedes, and it was incredible to see. And very, very quickly, it became clear that it was basically a two-man run for the championship once again. This time, of course, not between teammates, but between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. It became very, very quickly when they started trading wins in those first races between Australia and Canada in that first third, that they were going to be the ones with the best consistency across the board that were going to challenge each other. And quite rightly so. I mean, at the time, of course, 3 times and 4 times world champions, they were the perfect people to sort of launch this championship, and it was incredible to see. And, as I said, these were the 2 title protagonists right from the off. Valtteri Bottas definitely showed early signs of speed, but couldn't quite match Hamilton. He definitely had a good start to his Mercedes career, getting the pole in Bahrain, and then his first win in Russia as well. But he lacked the consistency to get these results, as often as Hamilton did. So that's why clearly it looked like a 2-horse race for the championship between Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Now, one of the big reasons for this resurgence of Ferrari is quite simple. It was their car. They designed a very, very good car, and Mercedes definitely weren't. They didn't have a horrible car. They had a very good car as well. But Ferrari's car almost seemed to be better. It seemed to be very well suited to all types of tracks, and definitely good on tighter and twistier tracks like Monaco, Hungary, Singapore. While the Mercedes was a lot more temperature dependent. There was a lot of articles talking about the cooler temperatures suiting the Mercedes better, but the Ferrari being a more well-rounded car So Ferrari definitely did a better job in the start of 2017 than Mercedes in creating a better car. Now, like I said, in the early part of the season, in the first third, not only were Lewis Hamilton and Vettel trading wins, but they were also very consistent at getting podiums when they couldn't win as well. Something also that happened was, of course, Lewis Hamilton matching Ayrton Senna in Canada with 65 pole positions. An incredible achievement that was huge at the time, of course, Senna being Hamilton's boyhood hero. And yeah, just an incredible moment for Formula One. And it became very clear after the first third, and especially after Canada, that the Mercedes domination was over. This was not, two teammates completely creaming the field like Rosberg and Lewis did, with the massive gaps to the rest of them, and the race is literally just being about them. It was now completely different, and it was a straight fight between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Now, despite the massive amount of respect that these two have for each other, and, that is definitely undeniable, it of course was always going to get a little bit ugly eventually. When you're racing for a championship against, and especially when there's two massive names in the sport, Vettel and Hamilton, it's going to get ugly eventually, and it definitely did in Azerbaijan in 2017. Of course, this was the race where Sebastian Vettel thought Lewis Hamilton had brake checked him under safety car, and then decided to drive along him and bang wheels with him, almost, banging into him. And I think this was Vettel snapping a little bit psychologically. Mark Webber pointed out that he has these sort of moments of just losing his cool, and I think it's just due to the fact that Hamilton put him under so much pressure with this championship. Like I said, they were trading wins left and right, and it's just the pressure that Lewis Hamilton put on him, and clearly Sebastian Vettel just snapped. So yeah, very interesting race there. Of course, Lewis Hamilton didn't end up winning after his headrest. Actually, her finger was damaged or something, and it ended up being Daniel Ricciardo to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So very interesting there. And of course, Valtteri Bottas still within sort of the championship grasp at that point, even getting a win in Austria with probably the best start of all time. Now, whether it was a jump or not, of course, if anyone remembers then, well, that's debatable. But it became clear at this point that he could still keep up with Hamilton, and he definitely had speed, which was very good to see. But like I said, like I said a couple of minutes ago, he just couldn't quite keep up the consistency of getting these wins all the time. Now, once again, this middle part of the season was another cracking sort of fight for the championship, with the two protagonists just again exchanging wins one after the other, with Lewis Hamilton winning in Silverstone, then Sebastian Vettel winning in Hungary, and then Lewis once again winning in Spa. And it was just, again, building this championship, which was absolutely incredible in 2017. But one really important thing to mention is what happened in Hungary in 2017, which was, of course, the team orders between Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Now, with Valtteri being in front of Lewis, but clearly Lewis having a little bit more pace, and Ferrari leading, by the way, 1-2, Valtteri Bottas was asked to let Lewis Hamilton through to try and overtake Kimi Raikkonen. Now, this was something that we've seen before from Mercedes in Monaco the previous year, but it was very. It was a completely different dynamic now, and of course Lewis Hamilton couldn't get through, and actually ended up giving the position back to Valtteri Bottas. And I don't think you would ever see Lewis Hamilton do that to Nico Rosberg, and it just underlined how much of a different relationship these two had, and just how comfortable the team was, And I think that was a massive help for them, because it just sort of relieved the pressure that Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton put on Mercedes, on their own team, with their tumultuous battle. Now, like I said, after the summer break in Spa, not only did Hamilton take the win, but he also matched Michael Schumacher's qualifying record, who was, of course, at the time, the all-time qualifying holder with 68 pole positions. Returning from the summer break, the first part of the season was immense. A huge battle up and down for both teams, but actually Vettel at this point was leading the championship and had led the championship since the first race. However, with Lewis Hamilton's win in Spa coming back from the summer break, he seemed to just go into another gear. He really did come back stronger, and it definitely proved to be the turning point of his season, in my opinion, especially performance-wise, because looking ahead to Monza, not only did he win that Grand Prix, but he also, of course, became the all-time record holder for the most amount of pole positions ever. And like I said, he just switched into another gear. He became a much better driver after Monza and gained the championship lead as well, which was the first time he had it. Vettel had led the championship at this point from Australia, so it was the first time Lewis Hamilton had led the championship at any point of the season after Monza. Now, towards the end of 2017, with the championship looking like it would be a classic, it all fell apart for Ferrari, with so many reliability issues and mistakes from Vettel, who caused a crash in Singapore as well. And as for Mercedes, another sort of massive point to why they've just maintained this level of success is their reliability. They had a relatively sort of reliability-free 2017, while Ferrari really fell apart towards the end of the season. Whilst, like I said, whilst Vettel was busy having reliability issues, and Kimi Räikkönen as well, by the way, and crashes, Hamilton from Belgium to the USA took 5 wins in 6 races and a second place in the other race where he did not win. So he capitalized every single time Vettel was having a tough weekend. Hamilton capitalized, and this was where he really won the championship. Now, not only did Hamilton capitalize on Vettel and Ferrari's mistakes, Mercedes did as well, and in the end won their 4th consecutive Constructors' title in the USA, wrapping it up in style with a win, of course, and I mean, amazing to see, really, and fully deserved. Like I said, they had a fantastic season with Hamilton wrapping up the title in Mexico after quite a dramatic race, actually, and finishing, it was actually his worst, probably, of the year. So he finished in 9th in the end, but it didn't really matter. He secured his 4th world title and became, I mean, at the time, of course, in 2017, the most successful British driver of all time. So Mercedes had another great 2017 season. It was a new challenge for them, this time against a team, not just an internal battle, but they still ended up on top with first in the Constructors with 668 points and a 1-3 in the Drivers' Championship. Now, I've touched on this already, but in my opinion, 2017, the biggest reasons why Mercedes managed to maintain that level of success is number one, money. They spent £309 million in 2017, an increase actually over 2016, purely just due to the reg changes, and once again, the teams with the biggest budgets, and everyone knows this, all Formula 1 fans know this, the teams with the biggest budgets in the end have the best cars and the best opportunities to win championships. So not only was it the money, but also the performance. The team, once again, even during a regulation change, delivering a fantastic car that really could challenge from day one. Now, not only did they have an incredible car, but they also had very, very strong reliability throughout the season. Hamilton especially not having a single retirement, while Ferrari, like I said, during the end of the season, were collapsing in both Malaysia and Japan. So yeah, that really caps off the 2017 season for Mercedes. Lots of positive to take away from that season for them. Like I said, it just so impressive how they managed to maintain success. Maybe not as dominant, of course, as their sort of 2014-2016 period, but still maintaining their success through great performance, really good drives from both Bottas and Hamilton, and reliability, in my opinion, as well. So heading into the 2018 season, while the regulations didn't change, there were quite a few small changes. Like I said, reliability was one of the key points to Mercedes in 2017, and it would definitely come in handy as well with one less engine in 2018, and of course the token system, which sort of separated it into different components. It was something that, as we saw in 2018, massively affected all the teams, and it's something that it definitely played a part in the championship. Once again, throughout winter testing, it was actually even more exciting than 2017, because now Red Bull seemed even more competitive and up there with both Mercedes and Ferrari. There was no big jumps from the top 2 teams of Mercedes and Ferrari. Red Bull seemed very close, and we were in for a stonker, literally. The testing was even, like I said, testing was even closer, and we were definitely in for a fantastic season with Red Bull finally finding a bit of form as they were sort of lagging behind at the start of the season in 2017. Now, once again, winter testing definitely proved to be a good sign for the season, and once again, we had a incredible start to 2018. In the first 6 races, we had 3 different winners in Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and Daniel Ricciardo, just showing how tight 2018 was. It was definitely not as easy for both Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton now, with Red Bull a lot closer, but at the end of the day, Ferrari and Mercedes still were ahead of Red Bull and clearly were the ones that were going to challenge for the championship. Even though, Red Bull did get these wins, they just weren't close enough to Ferrari and Mercedes to really put a season-long, championship assault. So yeah, I mean, it was a good start from both Vettel and Hamilton, although it wasn't really a stellar start from Lewis Hamilton. Vettel definitely capitalized, having a very good car early on, but Lewis Hamilton, despite the 2 wins, almost seemed to struggle a little bit. And as for Valtteri Bottas, well, he had a very interesting start to the start of his season. He definitely fell into a lot of bad luck. He had some good results early on, and then of course in Baku, where he was looking like he was dead set to win, he ran over some debris and ended up having to retire from the lead after another hectic Baku race. And it always just seems to deliver now, doesn't it, Baku? And yeah, it was a massive shock at the time and a massive hammer blow to Valtteri Bottas, who at the time I think could have even been leading the championship after his form. He had a great run of podiums and almost looked to be even quicker than he was in 2017. And, after running over that debris and retiring from the lead, it was Hamilton to take the win. And it was a massive hammer blow to Valtteri Bottas. And, Toto Wolff said it was shameful that he was robbed of that win, and I couldn't agree more. However, one sort of massive turning point that it did look to me was that, Valtteri, in my opinion, at this point, was actually quicker than in 2017. He almost looked like, could he challenge Hamilton? Could he even be quicker than him? Lewis almost seemed to struggle a little bit. But he never really recovered from there. He almost seemed to get a little bit weaker and just lose his drive after Baku, which in my opinion was a massive psychological blow and something that would almost right his season. He could not recover from Baku. He did not come back with another win or another incredible performance like that, and that really wrote his season for the future. Now, whilst the start of the season was again up in the air as both Ferrari and Mercedes looked very, very tight, the one thing that it did that did show itself very early on was the strategical errors that Mercedes were making. Now, just remember, this is such a tight championship with Ferrari and Mercedes putting so much pressure onto each other. So, you could almost forgive it, but there's no getting away from the fact that Mercedes were now looking like they were buckling under the pressure with so many almost strategical errors in both Australia, where they actually lost Lewis Hamilton the race by not reacting quick enough under the virtual safety car, which handed Sebastian Vettel the win. And then, of course, in China, not pitting Lewis Hamilton, and they didn't have a chance to pit Valtteri Bottas. He actually went past the pits after the safety car came out. But Lewis Hamilton did have a chance, and Mercedes were asleep once again, whilst Red Bull were bang on their heels, came into the pits, and ended up winning the race. So that's 2 race wins that Mercedes lost through strategical errors. And then, of course, we get to Austria as well. Once again, Mercedes sleeping under virtual and normal safety cars. And this was something that was beginning to be a pattern and costing Mercedes so many points. And I think it was just a sign of the pressure that both the teams were under during this incredible 2018 season. So during the mid part of the season, from Canada to Italy, it was once again almost like 2017, looking like a 2-horse race for both Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton to win their 5th world titles. Now, this was hugely evident in the fact that they were just trading wins once again. Sebastian Vettel winning in Canada, then Lewis Hamilton winning in France, then Vettel winning in Britain, then Hamilton winning in Germany, then Hamilton in Hungary, and then Vettel in Belgium. So again, it was just those two shining and showing why they are multiple-time world champions and really just pushing each other, almost improving themselves really. Now, during this very, very tight championship, especially during the mid part of the season, there was also a massive development war between Ferrari and Mercedes. Now, although I did mention that 2017 and 2018 were much more aero years, just due to the nature of these cars and due to the regs, Ferrari did also bring out a huge engine upgrade in Canada that helped them so much. And now it was definitely apparent that they had the best engine on the grid. The top speed and the acceleration of their cars that was evident in Silverstone and Belgium just meant that they were now ahead of Mercedes, really. It was apparently to do something with the shell fuel that Ferrari was using, so it was much more of a benefit to Ferrari than it was to both Haas and Sauber. But it definitely meant that they now had the best car on the grid. I think it was, of course, very close. It wasn't completely outright, but they definitely had a bit of a car advantage. Now, as close as this battle between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton was, in the end of the day, it all came down to Germany, and this was a massive point in the season, a huge turning point that everyone looks back on in 2018, where, of course, Sebastian Vettel, after leading the race, crashed out of losing the lead, and Lewis Hamilton taking the win after starting 14th. Now, psychologically, this was a hammer blow, and this is where Lewis Hamilton really won the championship, and he never looked back after Germany. Now, at this point of the season, not only did Hamilton look like he had the psychological advantage, but he also had massive backing from the management at Mercedes. Now, this is something that has been heavily criticised, but in my opinion, does not get talked about enough in a positive way. Because one massive thing that, as good as the development of Mercedes is, and as much money as they have, their management, in my opinion, knows how to win. And that is something that is going to, especially to Bottas fans, it's something that is going to come quite hard. There is no doubt in my mind that Bottas was, in some ways, a little bit unfortunate this season with some of the decisions that were made against him and some of the luck that he did have. but he did not have the speed early on and the consistency in the season to look like he was going to win a championship, especially when it's so tight. And this championship at the start of the season was so tight against Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. So that's why Lewis was clearly the favourite for Mercedes to win. And that is why Toto Wolff, and in my opinion, this was the right decision. It was a hard decision and it was a tough decision and one that is not liked by the fans, but he did the right thing by backing Lewis Hamilton and making Bottas his wingman, because this championship is so tight that it requires this. And many multi-world champions across Formula 1 history, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Fernando Alonso, just some of the recent ones, have had teammates that were compliant and that had to do things for them to win the championship. It's as simple as that, you know? And it was the same for Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas this season. I think Toto made the right decision in both, Russia and Monza to help Lewis Hamilton, while Ferrari, and this is the really important part, Ferrari were messing about and their intentions just weren't clear enough. They did not have the impetus, and Maurizio Arrivabene did not have the impetus early on in the season to prioritise Sebastian Vettel and allow him to win the championship and just almost take pressure off him. We saw this especially in Monza, where he obviously was not happy with Ferrari after Kimi Raikkonen had got pole position. And this is just one of the big reasons why Mercedes, in my opinion, won the championship. And that's their really good decisions in tough spots. Yes, the fans might not like it, but at the end it was the right decision, to my opinion. Now, like I said, Lewis Hamilton coming back from the winter break, not only did he seem to once again up his game once again, and with the help of his team, he managed to go on a complete rampage from Italy to Abu Dhabi, helped by the fact that Sebastian Vettel was now collapsing with mistakes and crashes under pressure from not only the fans and under pressure from Lewis Hamilton, but also, in my opinion, not helped by the fact, and obviously I've already talked about this, under pressure from Ferrari and by Ferrari themselves. Lewis Hamilton, like I said, he went on an incredible run from Italy to Abu Dhabi, getting 6 wins from 8 races, 5 pole positions from 8 races, and 7 podiums from 8 races as well. Once again, Valtteri Bottas at this point, he was really falling off rapidly, getting beaten by both Verstappen and Kimi Raikkonen comprehensively. I mean, in the last 4 races, he finished all of them in 5th, so not good enough. And clearly, in my opinion, Bottas was just being broken by both Mercedes, and I think he was broken by Baku, in my opinion, and at this point, he was just mentally quite tired out and just gave up a little bit, looking at, all the races that Lewis Hamilton won. So I do feel sorry for him there. But, he just wasn't quick enough at the start of the season. So once again, continuing his incredible form, Lewis Hamilton won his 5th world title in Mexico after another terrible race, actually. Mexico just is not his circuit. And Mercedes ended up winning their 5th consecutive Constructors' title in Brazil as well. A fantastic achievement, just capping off an amazing season. I mean, really, another, it might have not been the end that most people wanted, but it was definitely a good season, and hats off to Mercedes. Once again, in my opinion, 2018 was another fantastic year for them, and in my opinion, it was due to, number one, their management, like I said, making tough decisions and making decisions that fans don't want, but making decisions that won them the championship. And in the end, Lewis Hamilton was the difference, in my opinion. His mental ability and his straight-out speed is something that it's something that money just cannot buy, even though he does earn 40 million a year. But, yeah, that's what won Mercedes the championship in 2018, in my opinion. Their management and just the brilliance of Lewis Hamilton, really. So looking back at these past 2 years, and I've put this question in the thumbnail, who really has dominated? Has it been Mercedes or has it been Lewis Hamilton? Because, in my opinion, the domination of Mercedes really ended in 2016, and in both the past 2 years, it's been Lewis Hamilton that has been the difference. I mean, I put a stat out in the last video, 86% of races from 2014 to 2016 were won by Mercedes, but in the past 2 years, out of the 41 races we've had, only 56% was won by Mercedes. So I think their dominance is over, and it's good to see. It's good for the sport, and I think it is bringing out the best in Lewis Hamilton, and I really do like to see that, because it means there's more competition. And looking ahead to 2019, how is Mercedes going to continue this success? I just do not know, because in my opinion, I think it is going to be very difficult. Both Hamilton and Bottas are going to have to look forward to the future and up their games even more, especially Valtteri Bottas, who is very, very much under threat, in my opinion. And how are they going to cope with Verstappen, Gasly, Vettel, Leclerc? I think 2019 could be one of the best seasons of all time. And my question to you guys, pop your answer in the comments below. Will Mercedes continue their success in 2019. But anyway, guys, there you go. That is part 3 of my Rise of Mercedes. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Once again, this has been a very long episode, but I tried to go into as much detail as possible about why I think Mercedes has just been so amazing over the past 2 years and how they've maintained their success. I really hope you have enjoyed the series and the episode and everything. And once again, pop your comments in the box below. I want to know all your opinions on the past 2 years and these series as well, and what videos you would like to see as well. So yeah, once again, like and subscribe. I'm almost at 10k, so massively appreciated. And thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.